Hey all, and welcome to week 6 of our class. We are now entering into the closing stretch of this particular class, and I would definitely like to encourage you all to give it your best shot and finish really strong as we reach the end of our journey together. This week, you will begin your critical assignment, which is the persuasive speech. You're going to develop an outline this week for a speech that potentially persuades a target audience on a particular topic. The speech must have a clear introduction, body, and conclusion. And the persuasive speech should be supported with references from credible sources. Now, I've included a link to a really good and funny persuasive speech that I think you're all going to enjoy. It's a good example of what this speech that you're going to be working on is going to be about. So this speech is about hot dogs, so it's a lot of fun. I think you guys will enjoy it, and it's laid out really well and is a really good example of a persuasive speech. Now, remember this week that just the outline is due. The speech itself is not. So don't panic or anything. Your speech is not due this week. That is next. So let's go over a little bit of what a persuasive speech is for you all. Now, a persuasive speech is a specific type of speech where the speaker uses a goal to convince the audience into accepting their point of view. Now, this speech is arranged in such a way as to cause the audience to accept all or part of the expressed view. Persuasive speeches can be negative as well as positive, such as when Jesus was being tempted in the wilderness by Satan. Satan was very convincing, and you can find this in Matthew 4, verses 1 through 11. He tried to influence Jesus when he was at a low point, and he was trying to get him to agree with him on a particular topic. Now, this is a really good example, actually, of a persuasive speech in the Bible, and I would definitely encourage you guys to take a look at it. It's quite interesting. Now, ethos is a very important part in the appeal of a persuasive speech. Ethos is when an argument in the speech is constructed based on the ethics of the person making the argument. Now, factors such as body language, the willingness of the audience, and the environment in which the speech is given all affect the success of a persuasive speech. Now, the best persuasive speech ideas will be on a topic that you're interested in, of course. It needs to not be overdone, and it will be about something that your audience cares about as well. So you can find something that you're obviously interested in, and maybe something a little off the beaten track, maybe you haven't heard about as much in media, or something that people don't talk about as often. So those kind of speeches always make the most interesting. There are 3 different types of persuasive speeches. They are used to convince an audience. First is the factual persuasive speech, the value persuasive speech, and the policy persuasive speech. Now, a persuasive speech is given for the purpose of persuading the audience to feel a certain way, to take a certain action, or to support a specific view or cause that you have brought to them. A well thought out persuasive speech is based on sound reasoning. It is detailed and relevant evidence and presents a thorough consideration of the alternatives. Now, be sure to check out the video I recommended because it gives a good example of what I just talked about. Now, a persuasive speech has a clear, concise, and defined thesis, a strong introduction, a well-developed argument with strong evidential support, a clearly organized structure, and a very strong conclusion in order to get the audience to listen to you. Now, here are some tips for presenting a persuasive speech for you all. Research your audience. Who do you envision attending this presentation? Because keep in mind that even though I'm your audience, I'm not necessarily the person that you're trying to persuade. Now, you, of course, are trying to persuade me because I'm an audience, but there might be a specific audience that you have in mind when you're coming up with this particular speech. Choose a goal to focus on. Create an attention-grabbing story, and remember the hot dog speech that I gave you. Practice like crazy. It really does help a lot. Use your friend and family as sounding boards. Because remember, when you're giving your speech, if you don't sound sure about yourself, your audience is not going to be sure of your topic. Some of the best persuasive speeches are by people who are enthusiastic and quite clearly believe in the topic that they're giving. So practice will take away a lot of that unease. If you can memorize parts of your speech, this is an effective technique. You don't have to memorize the whole thing, but if you know it well enough that you only have to glance at your notes, or you can go a full page or so before you have to look down, that adds to the selling point of your speech to people. Make eye contact with your audience at important parts of the speech. If you have certain areas that you're hoping will drive home the point of what you're talking about, make eye contact with people, or in this case, the camera. Use repetition for effect. And lastly, of course, have a strong finish. In media and marketing, we a lot of times will call this a call to action at the end. Something that you're calling on people to do something, and that will depend, of course, on what your speech is. Now, I'm sure all of you guys are going to do really good on this. Your work so far has been very good, and I believe that this speech is going to be as well. So remember to enjoy yourselves. Remember to have fun. Recognize that you're paving a foundation for your future academic journey. And because remember, persuasive speech, it's not just a speech that you're giving to people. When you talk to people in everyday life, when you go to job interviews, you do anything like that, you're giving a persuasive argument to people in order to get them to agree with you on something. So remember that everything you learn with this speech can definitely help you in your life and career later on. Now remember, you also have discussion boards, discussion board 3 to complete, and make sure you do your responses for that. And there's also quiz 6. So let me leave you with this encouraging word from Psalm 19, verse 14. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thine sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. As always, any questions or concerns, feel free to shoot me an email, and I will get back to you. More than willing to help you out with anything you need. So I hope you guys have a great week. All right.